Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun!
Rays of sunlight danced across a mirror, revealing a person with auburn hair, freshly trimmed in a style that hid its true potential. Not for the first time, Forrest felt a disconnect. The person in the mirror didn't reflect who he was inside. His fingers grazed the shortened locks, yearning for the freedom to allow them to be longer, softer, as they had been in his dreams. Just one more day. He exhaled to his own image, the words a reminder and a promise. He fidgeted with the collar of the stifling shirt, a uniform for a life chosen by others, not by him. Time marched on, and months passed. Forrest's journey began with quiet, seemingly insignificant steps. This wasn't supporting a cause. This was her boyfriend telling her he was a woman.
I need to tell you something,
Forrest had said that night, voice trembling. They sat on their small apartment balcony, the spring air carrying the scent of blooming flowers from the park across the street. Natalie had set down her wine glass, concern immediately crossing her face. What's wrong? I've been struggling with something my whole life. The words stuck in his throat. I'm not who you think I am. Or rather, I am, but I'm not a man. I'm a woman. I always have been. The silence that followed felt eternal. Natalie's expression shifted from confusion to understanding, her eyes welling with tears, not of anger or disgust, but of recognition. Esme, she'd whispered. That's what you want to be called, isn't it? Forrest, now Esme, had broken down then, nodding through tears. How Natalie had known the name she'd chosen privately was a mystery, until she explained. You talk in your sleep sometimes. Last week you said, I'm Esme, so clearly I thought you were awake. Those early days had been a whirlwind of changes. Appointments with doctors, therapists, starting hormone therapy. Natalie had been there through it all, holding Esme's hand during the difficult conversations with family, friends, and coworkers. Some relationships didn't survive. Esme's father hadn't spoken to her in months. 2 friends from college had quietly disappeared from her life, but surprisingly, many others rallied around her with support that felt like sunshine after a lifetime of rain. Now, 8 months into her transition, Esme stood before a different mirror. Her auburn hair had grown past her shoulders, the natural wave she'd never allowed to flourish, now framing her face in soft curls. The hormones had begun their subtle magic, softening her features and slowly redistributing her body's shape. Happy almost birthday, Natalie said, appearing in the doorway of their bedroom. Are you excited about tomorrow? Esme turned from the mirror, smiling. It feels strange, like my first birthday, in a way. Because it is. Natalie stepped closer, wrapping her arms around Esme's waist. Your first birthday, as your true self. The significance wasn't lost on either of them. November 12th had always been Forrest's birthday, but now it would be Esme's, the first celebration of her birth since embracing her identity. I got us dinner reservations at Bellinis for tomorrow night, Natalie said, kissing Esme's cheek. Thought we could make it special. Esme's eyes widened. Bellinis? That's impossible to get into. I pulled some strings. My client knows the owner. Natalie worked as an interior designer for some of the wealthiest clients in the city. Plus, I might have mentioned it was for a very important birthday. The thought of dining at such an upscale restaurant sent a momentary flicker of anxiety through Esme. Will I pass?" she whispered, the insecurity she battled daily surfacing again. Natalie took Esme's face in her hands. "You're beautiful. And more importantly, you're you. But if it helps, no one there knows you from before. It'll just be Esme's birthday dinner with her girlfriend." The prospect of being in a place where no one had known Forrest was freeing. No old names, no confused pronouns, no whispers or stares from people adjusting to her transition. "What will you wear?" Natalie asked, moving to their shared closet. Esme followed her, fingers trailing across the hangers that now held an entirely different wardrobe than a year ago. She pulled out a red dress she'd purchased weeks earlier, but hadn't found the courage to wear yet. Its spaghetti straps and figure-hugging design would showcase her developing curves, but also required a confidence she was still building. "This," she decided, holding it against herself. "And those black patent leather heels you got me when I first came out." Natalie's eyes lit up. "You'll be stunning!" That night, Esme dreamed of her birthday dinner, not with anxiety, but with anticipation. For once, she wasn't dreading growing another year older. Instead, she was celebrating becoming more herself with each passing day. The next evening arrived with perfect autumn weather. Cool enough for a light jacket, but warm enough that Esme wouldn't freeze in her dress. She stood before the bedroom mirror, hardly recognizing herself compared to the reflection from a year ago. The red dress hugged her body in all the right places, the hormones having worked subtle changes that were now accentuated by the garment's cut. Her auburn hair cascaded in loose curls that she'd spent an hour perfecting, and the makeup she'd applied enhanced rather than masked her features. "Need help with the zipper?" Natalie asked, entering the room in a sleek black dress, her blonde hair swept up in an elegant twist. "Please." Esme turned, feeling Natalie's fingers brush against her back as she zipped the dress. "There," Natalie said, but her hands lingered at Esme's waist. "You look incredible." Esme turned to face her. "So do you." The moment felt weighted with significance, their first formal outing as a couple since Esme's transition began. They'd been to casual restaurants and movies, but nothing like Bellinis, nothing that felt so much like a declaration. The restaurant was everything Esme had heard about: crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, and waitstaff that moved with practiced precision. The maitre d' welcomed them with a warm smile. "Reservation for Westfield," Natalie said. "Ah, yes, Ms. Westfield, we have your table ready." He led them through the dining room to a quiet corner with a view of the city lights. "I understand we're celebrating a birthday tonight?" Natalie squeezed Esme's hand. "Yes, my girlfriend's." The simple phrase, "my girlfriend," spoken so naturally made Esme's heart soar. "Wonderful! I'll make sure the kitchen knows." He pulled out chairs for both of them. "Your server will be right with you." As they settled in, Esme took in the atmosphere, watching other diners engaged in conversation, no one paying them any particular attention. The realization was liberating. She was just another woman enjoying a night out. "This is perfect," she said softly. Their server approached with a bottle of champagne. "Compliments of the house for the birthday celebration," he explained, expertly popping the cork and pouring 2 flutes. "Are you ready to hear about our specials this evening?" The meal unfolded like a dream, each course more exquisite than the last, the conversation flowing easily between them. Esme felt none of the self-consciousness she'd feared, only joy in the moment and in Natalie's company. "You're glowing tonight," Natalie observed over dessert. "It suits you." Esme smiled, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. "I feel free," Like I can finally breathe. Before Natalie could respond, their server appeared with a small tiramisu adorned with a single candle.
Happy birthday from all of us,
he said, placing it between them. Natalie reached across the table, taking Esme's hand. Make a wish. Closing her eyes, Esme paused. A year ago, her wish would have been obvious, to become who she truly was. But now, having taken those steps, what did she wish for? The answer came easily, not for anything new, but for continuation, for the comfort she now felt in her own skin to remain, for the joy she'd discovered in living authentically to grow. She opened her eyes and blew out the candle. What did you wish for? Natalie asked. Esme shook her head, smiling. Can't tell or it won't come true. After paying the bill, they stepped out into the night. The city hummed around them, lights reflecting off building windows like stars brought down to earth. Not ready to go home yet, Natalie said, slipping her arm through Esme's. Let's walk for a while. They strolled along the waterfront, heels clicking against the pavement. Esme realized she no longer felt self-conscious about the sound. It had become a part of her, as natural as breathing. I have something for you, Natalie said, as they paused by the railing overlooking the water. She reached into her small purse and pulled out a long, slender box. You didn't have to get me anything, Esme protested. The dinner was already too much. This isn't just for your birthday, Natalie explained, handing her the box. Open it. Inside lay a delicate silver bracelet. Esme lifted it, the metal catching the city lights, and noticed an engraving on the inside. 11/12, Esme's day. It's your new birth date, Natalie said softly. Not just marking another year, but marking your rebirth, when you finally became you. Tears welled in Esme's eyes as Natalie fastened the bracelet around her wrist. It's perfect, she whispered. Under the city lights, with the water lapping gently against the shore below, Natalie pulled her close. Happy birthday, Esme. The kiss they shared felt like a promise of acceptance, of growth, of love that transcended change. Walking home, hand in hand, Esme reflected on the journey that had brought her here. 8 months ago, she'd been living a half-life, hidden behind a name and identity that never truly fit. Now, with each step in her black patent heels, with the silver bracelet cool against her skin, she moved forward, not as someone new, but as herself, finally whole. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains they'd forgotten to close, painting warm stripes across the bed. Esme stirred, feeling Natalie's arm draped over her waist. For a moment, she simply breathed in the contentment of the moment, her mind replaying snippets from the previous evening. The restaurant, the tiramisu with its single candle, the bracelet that now adorned her wrist. Carefully, so as not to wake Natalie, she slipped from beneath the covers and padded to the bathroom. The red dress hung on the back of the door where she'd placed it last night, a vibrant reminder of the celebration. The face that greeted her in the mirror now matched the person within. Not perfectly, perhaps, but genuinely. Her auburn hair was tousled from sleep, her features softer than they had been 8 months ago. Progress, visible and invisible. Her phone buzzed from the bedroom. Returning, she found Natalie still asleep and checked the notification. A text from her mother. Happy birthday, Esme. Call when you have time. Love you. The simple message brought fresh tears. Her mother had struggled initially with Forrest becoming Esme, but had committed to learning, to understanding. This message, using her true name, sent first thing in the morning, represented months of effort and acceptance. "Everything okay?" Natalie's voice was husky with sleep. Esme showed her the text. "More than okay." After breakfast, they spent the day in comfortable domesticity, Natalie working on design plans for a new client, while Esme caught up on reading for her graduate program. The ordinariness of it all felt like another gift. This was her life now, not a fantasy or temporary escape, but her everyday reality. In the afternoon, Esme called her mother as promised. The conversation flowed more easily than it had in years, perhaps because they were finally talking mother to daughter rather than mother to son, pretending to be someone he wasn't. "Did you have a nice dinner for your birthday?" her mother asked. "It was wonderful," Esme replied, telling her about Bellinis and the bracelet. "Natalie's good for you," her mother observed. "She sees you." "She always did," Esme said softly. "Even before I could see myself clearly." After the call, Esme found Natalie in the kitchen, preparing coffee. Wrapping her arms around her from behind, Esme rested her chin on Natalie's shoulder. "Thank you for yesterday," she murmured. "For everything, really." Natalie turned in her embrace. "You don't need to thank me for loving you." "Not for loving me," Esme clarified, "for making space for me to become myself." That evening, as they curled together on the sofa watching a movie, Esme's thoughts drifted to the future. Her transition was ongoing, physically, emotionally, socially. There would be more challenges ahead, but also more moments of joy, of recognition, of alignment between her inner and outer selves. The first real indication of those future challenges came 3 days later, when Esme received an invitation to her company's annual holiday party. In previous years, she'd attended as Forrest, uncomfortable in suits that felt like costumes. This would be her first company-wide event as Esme. "I don't know if I'm ready," she admitted to Natalie that evening. "Most of my immediate team has been supportive, but there are people from other departments who I haven't seen since before." "What are you afraid of?" Natalie asked, gently. Esme considered this. "Judgment. Questions. Having to explain myself over and over." "You don't owe anyone an explanation," Natalie reminded her. "And isn't Harper from HR coordinating the event? She's been one of your biggest supporters." This was true. Harper had helped facilitate Esme's workplace transition with sensitivity and professionalism, ensuring that her email was updated, her new name was used in all communications, and that bathroom access wouldn't be an issue. "I'll talk to her," Esme decided. "See if she has any advice." The next day at work, Esme knocked on the frame of Harper's open office door. The HR director looked up from her computer with a warm smile. "Esme, come in." Harper gestured to the chair opposite her desk. "What can I help with?" Esme settled into the seat, smoothing the fabric of her navy blue pencil skirt. "It's about the holiday party." Understanding immediately dawned on Harper's face. "Your first big event as yourself." "Yes," Esme confirmed. "I'm nervous about seeing everyone at once. People I haven't interacted with since before." Harper leaned forward. "That's completely understandable. Would it help to know that we've had sensitivity briefings for all department heads since you came out? Everyone has been reminded about appropriate behavior and language." "Really?" Esme hadn't known this. "Of course. Your transition isn't just your responsibility. It's on all of us to create a respectful environment." Harper's expression grew thoughtful. Would you feel more comfortable having a buffer for the evening? I'd be happy to introduce you around. Be nearby if any situations arise. The offer was touching. That might help, actually, at least for the beginning. Consider it done. Harper made a note on her desk calendar. And Esme, wear something that makes you feel confident. The best defense against discomfort is knowing you look fantastic. This advice sparked an idea. That weekend, Esme and Natalie went shopping for the perfect holiday party outfit. What about this? Natalie held up a black cocktail dress with subtle silver threading. Esme considered it. Maybe. I want something festive but professional. They moved through the department store, Esme growing increasingly discouraged as dresses either didn't fit right or didn't feel right. The proportions were wrong, or they accentuated aspects of her figure she was still self-conscious about. Let's try one more place, Natalie suggested after the third store proved fruitless. The boutique she led them to was smaller, with a diverse range of sizes and styles. A sales associate approached them with a friendly smile. Can I help you find something? Esme hesitated, but Natalie squeezed her hand encouragingly. I need an outfit for my company holiday party, Esme explained. Something elegant, but not too revealing. If the associate noticed anything unusual about Esme, she gave no indication. What colors do you prefer? And are we thinking dress or perhaps separates? The ease of the interaction bolstered Esme's confidence. I'm open to either. Maybe something in green or burgundy for the holidays. The woman nodded thoughtfully. I have several options you might like. Let me pull them for you. What followed was the most affirming shopping experience Esme had ever had. The associate brought various outfits to the fitting room, offered styling advice, and treated Esme exactly as she would any other female customer. In the end, Esme chose an emerald green wrap dress that flattered her figure, while providing enough coverage to feel comfortable in a professional setting. The fabric draped beautifully, and the color made her auburn hair seem to glow. This is perfect, she said, twirling before the three-way mirror. You look stunning, the associate agreed. Would you like to see some accessory options to complete the look? By the time they left the boutique, Esme had not only the dress, but also a pair of gold drop earrings and a matching bracelet that would complement her birthday bracelet from Natalie. That was... Esme began as they walked to the car. Normal, Natalie suggested. Yes. The simplicity of it, being treated as just another woman shopping for a dress, had been profound in its ordinariness. Exactly what I needed. The night of the holiday party arrived with a light dusting of snow that transformed the city into a winter wonderland. Esme stood before the bedroom mirror, making final adjustments to her appearance. The emerald dress fit perfectly. Her auburn hair was styled in loose waves that framed her face, and the gold earrings caught the light when she moved. Ready? Natalie appeared in the doorway, resplendent in a burgundy jumpsuit that complemented Esme's green dress. As I'll ever be, Esme replied, applying a final touch of lipstick. You look amazing. So do you. Natalie crossed the room and kissed her cheek carefully, avoiding the makeup. Remember, I'll be right beside you all night. The company had rented a ballroom at a downtown hotel for the occasion. As their rideshare pulled up to the entrance, Esme took a deep breath, steadying herself. Inside, the space had been transformed with twinkling lights, garlands, and elegant table settings. A jazz quartet played in one corner, and catering staff circulated with trays of hors d'oeuvres and champagne. Harper spotted them immediately, waving from near the entrance. She wore a stylish silver pantsuit and a warm smile. "Esme, Natalie, I'm so glad you made it." She embraced each of them briefly. "You both look fabulous." "Thanks for offering to be my guide tonight," Esme said. "Of course, though looking at you now, I'm not sure you need one. You seem perfectly comfortable." The comment bolstered Esme's confidence. Maybe she could do this. The evening unfolded better than she had dared hope. Yes, there were a few awkward moments. A colleague from accounting who seemed flustered and overly formal, an executive who'd had one too many drinks and asked inappropriate questions before being whisked away by Harper. But overwhelmingly, people were kind, respectful, or simply normal in their interactions. "Esme, the marketing reports you prepared last month were brilliant," said the director of communications, clinking her glass against Esme's. The board was impressed with the data visualization. "Thank you," Esme replied, warmed by the professional acknowledgement that focused on her work rather than her identity. Later, as she and Natalie danced to a slow number played by the quartet, Esme caught sight of their reflection in the ballroom's mirrored wall. The woman in the emerald dress, moving confidently in her partner's arms, was herself. Not a costume, not a temporary state, but her authentic self. "What are you thinking about?" Natalie asked, noting her gaze. "Just that I'm happy." The simple truth of it resonated through her. Despite the challenges, despite the losses, despite the road still ahead, she was happy in a way she'd never been before. As winter deepened, bringing with it the quiet introspection of short days and long nights, Esme found herself thinking about the future in new ways. Her transition had consumed so much of her mental energy for the past year that other aspects of life planning had been set aside. Now, with her first Christmas as Esme approaching, longer-term questions began to surface. One evening, as they decorated their small apartment for the holidays, Esme voiced what had been on her mind. "Do you ever think about having children?" she asked, hanging a glass ornament on their modest tree. Natalie paused in stringing lights along the window frame. "Sometimes. Do you?" "I used to think it wasn't in the cards for me," Esme admitted, selecting another ornament. "Even before I acknowledged who I really was, something felt incomplete about the idea of being a father. And now? Now, I can see myself as a mother." The word still felt new on her tongue, but right. "I didn't bank any sperm before starting hormones, but adoption has always appealed to me." Natalie abandoned the lights and came to sit on the couch, patting the space beside her. When Esme joined her, Natalie took her hand. "I've always wanted children eventually," she said. "And I can absolutely see you as a mother. You have so much love to give." The conversation was preliminary. Neither of them was ready to start the process yet, but opening the door to these discussions felt significant. Esme was planning a future not just as her authentic self, but with all the possibilities that authenticity unlocked. Christmas brought another milestone, Esme's first visit home to her parents as herself. Her mother had been increasingly supportive over phone calls, but her father remained distant, communicating primarily through her mother. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Natalie asked, as they packed the car for the 3-hour drive. "We could spend Christmas here, just the two of us." Esme placed their suitcase in the trunk. "I need to do this. For me, and for them too." The journey to the small town where she'd grown up felt like traveling back in time. They passed familiar landmarks, the lake where she'd learned to swim, the high school football field, the diner where she'd had her first job, all places with memories of Forrest. But she wasn't erasing those memories, she reminded herself. She was reclaiming them, recontextualizing them as parts of her complete story. Her mother greeted them at the door with hugs and exclamations over how lovely they both looked. Her father hung back in the living room, rising awkwardly when they entered.
Hello?
He said stiffly, not quite meeting Esme's eyes. Hi, Dad, she replied, the familiar address paired with her new presentation, creating a palpable tension. Dinner that evening was a delicate dance of careful conversation. Her mother trying too hard to use the correct pronouns. Her father saying little but watching intently. Natalie smoothly filling silences with anecdotes about work and their apartment renovation plans. It wasn't until the next morning, Christmas Eve, that the ice began to thaw. Esme came downstairs to find her father alone in the kitchen, making coffee.
Early riser still?
He asked, the first direct question he'd addressed to her. Some things don't change, Esme replied, accepting the mug he offered. They sat at the kitchen table in silence for a few minutes, steam rising from their cups. Outside, snow began to fall in lazy flakes.
Your mother put your old ornaments on the tree,
her father finally said.
The ones you made in school.
Esme hadn't noticed the night before. Really?
She wasn't sure if you'd want them there. If they'd make you uncomfortable.
Understanding dawned.
Because they have my old name on them?
Her father nodded, studying his coffee. I'm still the same person who made those ornaments, Dad, Esme said gently. My childhood is still mine. I'm not trying to erase Forrest. I'm just finally able to be who I always was inside. Her father was quiet for so long that Esme thought the conversation might be over. Then he reached across the table, his weathered hand covering hers.
I don't understand everything,
he said, his voice rough.
But I know my child, and I can see you're happier now, more yourself, somehow.
It wasn't perfect acceptance, but it was a beginning. That night, as they exchanged gifts around the tree, Esme spotted the childish ornaments her mother had mentioned. Clay shapes with Forrest, painted in wobbly letters. But rather than feeling jarred by them, she felt a curious sense of continuity. Those moments were part of her journey, stepping stones that had led her here. Her parents had given her a delicate silver necklace with her initial, E for Esme, pendant. The thoughtfulness of the gift, chosen specifically for her true identity, moved her to tears. Thank you, she whispered, hugging each of them. This means everything. Later, as they prepared for bed in her childhood room, now redecorated as a generic guest room, Natalie wrapped her arms around Esme from behind. You've come so far, she murmured into Esme's auburn hair. I'm so proud of you. There were moments I didn't think I'd make it, Esme admitted, especially at the beginning when everything felt so overwhelming. But you did make it, and you're thriving. The new year brought fresh challenges and opportunities. Esme had been on hormone therapy long enough to see significant changes, but her voice still sometimes betrayed her in professional settings. She began working with a speech therapist who specialized in transgender voice training. It's not about putting on an affected, feminine voice, the therapist explained during their first session. It's about finding your authentic voice, the one that aligns with who you are. The exercises were demanding, requiring daily practice and awareness. Esme recorded herself speaking, analyzed the pitch and resonance, and worked to develop new patterns that felt natural rather than forced. At the same time, she began researching gender confirmation surgeries. The process was daunting: consultations, letters from mental health professionals, insurance battles, and the surgeries themselves with their recovery periods. "I want to do this," she told Natalie after one particularly overwhelming day of research. "But it's so much." "Then we'll take it one step at a time," Natalie replied, practical as always. "Start with consultations. Just gather information. No decisions need to be made immediately." This measured approach helped. By spring, Esme had met with 2 surgeons and had a clearer understanding of her options and timeline. The anniversary of her coming out arrived in March, 1 full year since she had first told Natalie her truth. They celebrated with a quiet dinner at home, reflecting on the journey so far. "If you could go back and tell yourself from a year ago one thing, what would it be?" Natalie asked over dessert. Esme considered this, twisting the silver bracelet on her wrist, her birthday gift that had become a talisman of sorts. "That it gets better, that the hard parts are worth it. That authenticity brings its own kind of peace." She looked across at the woman who had stood beside her through it all. "And I'd tell myself how lucky I am to have you." Natalie reached for her hand. "I'm the lucky one. Getting to love the real you? That's a gift." The following week, Esme received an unexpected email from her company's Diversity and Inclusion Committee, asking if she would be willing to share her experience as part of a panel discussion for Pride Month in June. "I'm not sure," she told Harper from HR over coffee. "I'm still figuring things out myself, and I don't want to be seen as just the trans employee. I've worked hard to be recognized for my professional contributions." "I completely understand," Harper assured her. "No one is asking you to be a spokesperson for all transgender people. But your story, specifically how the company supported your transition, could help us create better policies for others." Esme promised to think about it. That evening, she discussed the invitation with Natalie. "What does your gut tell you?" Natalie asked. Esme considered this. "Part of me wants to help make things easier for others. When I first came out at work, I was terrified. If hearing about my positive experience could make that less scary for someone else. But I'm also worried about putting myself out there so publicly. What if I say something wrong? What if I'm not far enough along in my transition to be giving advice?" Natalie listened thoughtfully. "Those are valid concerns. But maybe you don't need to position yourself as an expert. You can just share your personal experience with all its complexities." After several days of consideration, Esme agreed to participate in the panel, with the understanding that she would speak only to her own experience, and that her role as a marketing analyst would be emphasized alongside her identity. The preparation for the panel coincided with another significant step in her transition: legal name change. The process involved paperwork, court appearances, and notifications to various institutions, from banks to the DMV. The day her new driver's license arrived in the mail, with Esme Carlisle printed beside her photograph, felt monumental. No more explanations when carding at restaurants or awkward moments picking up prescriptions. This small rectangle of plastic represented official recognition of who she truly was. "We should frame it," Natalie joked, but Esme understood the sentiment behind the humor. These milestones deserved celebration. June arrived with warming temperatures and the city adorned in rainbow flags. The diversity panel was scheduled for mid-month, giving Esme time to prepare her remarks and manage her anxiety about public speaking. The morning of the panel, she stood before her closet, deliberating. What did one wear to discuss such personal matters in a professional setting? She eventually selected a forest green blouse that complemented her auburn hair, paired with black trousers and low heels. Professional, but authentically her. The company auditorium was filled with employees from all departments when Esme arrived. Harper greeted her backstage, along with the other panelists, a gay marketing director, a non-binary product designer, and the ally parent of a transgender teenager.
Nervous?
The marketing director asked Esme. Terrified, she admitted with a small laugh.
Just speak your truth, he advised. That's all anyone can ask.
When it was Esme's turn to speak, she approached the microphone with trembling hands, but a steady voice, thanks in part to months of voice therapy. A year ago, she began, I came to work as myself for the first time. I'd spent 30 years hiding, conforming to expectations that never fit. Taking that step was the scariest thing I've ever done, but also the most necessary. She spoke about the practical aspects of workplace transition, updating email signatures and employee IDs, navigating bathroom use, correcting well-meaning colleagues who slipped up with pronouns. She acknowledged the company's supportive policies while also suggesting improvements. The most meaningful support, she concluded, has come from individuals who simply treated me as a colleague first, a woman second, and transgender as just one aspect of my identity, not its defining feature. My transition isn't the most interesting thing about me. My marketing strategies, my data analysis skills, my passionate advocacy for user experience, these professional contributions are what I want to be known for. The applause following her remarks was warm and genuine. During the question and answer period that followed, several employees asked thoughtful questions about how they could better support transgender colleagues. Just listen, Esme advised. Every transgender person's journey is different. As the sun set on that day, Esme couldn't help but feel a sense of closure. It was as if her journey, filled with both challenges and triumphs, had led her to this very moment. The warm appreciation from her colleagues and the CEO's genuine gratitude marked a significant milestone in her career. But what touched her the most was the celebration organized by Natalie, a symbol of the deep connection they had formed. In that room, filled with love and acceptance, Esme's journey of self-discovery found its peaceful conclusion. No longer was she searching for her place in the world, for she had found it within this supportive circle. Her transition, an act of courage, had blossomed into a story of acceptance and unity.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!